Hey guys, Jessie here from Tonkadale, and today we're talking about pruning. I like to talk about pruning kind of in three categories: pinching, pruning, and cutting back. Before you start chopping off parts of your plant, you want to think about what the goal of your endeavor is or whether or not it's needed. Really, the best time to prune your plants is in spring when they're beginning to actively grow, but I'm okay if you need to do a little plant maintenance right now. It can't hurt too bad. So let's start with pinching. Something like this Peperomia obtusifolia has a tendency to grow straight up out of one growing point. As it grows straight up, it can become a little bit floppy. And the goal of pinching and pruning this plant is to make it a little bit bushier and thicker so that it's not too stretchy and falling over. Pinching is basically taking off the bud that's in charge. So the apical meristem governs how the plant grows. This is where the cell division happens and then new leaves emerge. When you remove that bud that's in charge, it allows auxiliary buds to grow. So where a leaf hits a stem, that's called a node, and that's where those auxiliary buds live. So when you take away the boss bud, it allows the side buds to grow. I'd like to take away a little bit more just because it is starting to get a little floppy. So when you're pinching, you're going down one or two nodes, making sure to remove that apical meristem or the boss bud. That's pinching. I was able to easily do that just with my fingers because this stem is nice and juicy and it breaks really easily. One thing you do want to watch out for, if plants don't snap easily, you want to make sure you're not crushing the cells when you are doing your pruning. So another way to have done what I just did is to use a clean knife, and you can disinfect your knife with a little bit of isopropyl rubbing alcohol and see how that just makes a nice clean cut. A knife like this is a great tool when you need to do some pinching. And guess what? You could stick these little cuttings in soil with rooting hormone and have 3 new plants. Hooray! We get questions all the time about how do I prune my fiddly fig. It might be overgrowing its space. We might want to encourage new growth. So we go in and prune. For this endeavor, we're going to use a hand pruner. It's worth it to invest in a really nice sharp hand pruner, one that you can take in and get sharpened every so often. Here on the fiddly fig, you can see the growing tip is here. This is where the new leaves come from. And you can just go down a few nodes and cut right above a leaf like that. So we can go there, and don't be, it's not scary, no scary, just go in there and go for it. I usually cut at an angle, it's just kind of my habit. So from each point where you cut, 2 new growing stems are going to emerge if the conditions are right and there's enough light to support that kind of growth. We've gone over pinching, we've gone over pruning. Let's talk about cutting back. When you're cutting a plant back, you're basically saying, hey, you've become unruly, it's time to start fresh, so we're gonna give you a nice cut. This will keep the plant more compact and also encourage brand new growth, especially if something's gotten really stretchy and out of line. Something like this, because the growing tips are at the top, you can just simply come in and with your scissor and almost cut at every point. If you wanted to be really specific, you'd go in at a node and cut. But I like to just chop. A basic rule that I have is go about tag height. That way you're leaving enough body in the plant so that it can collect energy and continue to grow. We can also cut back this pothos, which is generously growing. However, some of you might like to keep these long tendrils. It just kind of depends on the look you want. You might want a tighter look, or maybe this is setting on a table and this is getting all over your keyboard and you just can't have that. So you can go in and cut back this plant pretty aggressively. If it was starting to get stretchy, you could even go in on the top and clip out some of those long stretchy vines. But this one is nice and compact, so we're just going to snip those long tendrils and encourage more bushy growth. So this look might be acceptable for some, might not be. For me, if I was waking up every morning and my plant was laying sideways, I'd be about fed up. So I would come in here and do some pruning or cutting back. I think I am going to use the pruners on this because the stems are pretty thick. But I would just say, you're done. This is the owl eye peperomia. So it's a little bit like the Chinese money plant or the Pilea peperomoides. So as always, if you guys have questions about pinching, pruning, or cutting your plants back, just ask us. We've done it before, we'll do it again. It can be a little intimidating taking a scissor to a plant, but you know what? They like it. It's like, it's like getting a haircut, you know, all the new hair, and it like grows out and encourages new growth. Thanks for watching our pruning video. We'll see you at Tonkadale.